Chapter 10, Middle Game. Well, that's an interesting name for a, for a chapter. Got Endgame, Middle Game, and Beginner Game? Start the game? Start the game! With good developments always come bad. It was how life often flowed, it seemed. Yeah, I was like, when you were all, I can't wait for tomorrow. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure, though? Things went really well, so we're due for something bad to happen. Also, I don't think I've seen this background, or if I did, I don't remember the lights working. Anyway, cool background. The moment you found determination, the world would shake things up. A new assignment. This time to Pythia, the capital of Delphine, a place I never thought I'd see in person. I suppose it was more neutral than bad. Despite what Caleb and I discussed a few days ago, there was no way for me to refuse to go. It involved relics, and even though we didn't quite understand how I interacted with them, the fact remained I was the only remotely reliable way we had to shut them off if someone tried to use them against us. So when they assigned me, I didn't argue. Not this time. As we walked down the unfamiliar streets, I was trying not to stare like a wide-eyed tourist, though I must have been doing a terrible job of it. Caleb kept gently grabbing the top of my head and forcing me to look straight ahead. I'm sorry! I've never been here before.
You're supposed to be looking natural.
I don't think you grabbing my head looks natural either, if we're being honest.
I'd stop doing it if you stopped looking around like you'd never been here before.
I haven't ever been here before.
We just went over this.
Are you two bickering again?
Vaughn's voice sounded in my head, tinny and with a slight crackle as she spoke over the communications channel.
You've been dating for like 3 days, and you already sound like you've been married for 20 years.
That is the vibe they give off, I agree.
Shut up. I hope your lover's quarrel isn't distracting you from the person you're supposed to be following.
Damn, even Ari's done.
I haven't lost sight of him, and even if I did, that's why the two of you are standing by, isn't it?
I focused on our target instead of Vaughn's remark about my and Caleb's relationship status, if only because somehow that still felt stranger than the fact that I was in Pythia, the capital of Delphine, on a mission. And I was still annoyed by how they all found out right away. There are no secrets in this stupid place unless you're me. At any rate, it was day at the moment. Well, their simulated day, so it wasn't that different than being on the day side of the planet in that regard. But the city itself was so strange. It was darker, colder, harsher somehow. Oh, actually... Maybe I have seen this background before, but it was nighttime. Is this where we met Kesa? Kind of around this background area-ish? I can't remember, but that might be a thing. And it was increasingly difficult to keep sight of the man ahead as we tailed him down the streets. The Moirai had, at last, had a breakthrough. They tracked another of these shipments of relics, and that was what landed my team in the middle of Pythia, trailing someone we believed to be the contact for said shipment. I kept wondering if this is what Ari and Caleb had done when they had been following me around that day.
Shit.
I snapped my eyes back to the man in front of us. He'd paused and was looking back. Oh no.
He's running!
I see him!
He grabbed my arm and started sprinting a split second before the man did. Ooh, eyes are glowing.
Enhance your speed so you can keep up.
Got it! We had never done this exact technique before, but I was getting good enough at mimicking I could watch what he did, then match it. The man swung into an alley and out of sight, and we followed.
Get ready to shield yourself. He's probably armed.
Be careful, guys. We're a few minutes behind you at this point.
Understood. When Caleb and I veered into the alley seconds later, the man was nowhere in sight. Caleb whipped his head to the side, then tilted it towards an open door on the left that was open to crack. A silent indicator where the man had gone. I nodded. He crept to the door with me right behind him.
Don't expand your sphere in the building unless I tell you to. If there are psi detectors, I'd rather them not go off. We don't want them to find out we're Espers unless it's necessary.
I understand. Caleb drew a weapon from a holster inside his jacket as he pushed the door open and stepped inside. I followed behind him, my only weapon my Psyverse, assuming he trusted me enough to use them. Caleb had stopped just inside, in the deep shadows by the door. As I sidled close to him, he put an arm out, pushing me further behind him. His head was tilted, probably enhancing his hearing to listen for the man. Because his biokinesis was internal, he could do it without setting off psi sensors, if there were any. We didn't know the man was familiar with this building, but since we didn't want to tip them off as to who we were, we couldn't take chances. There was a soft scrape to the left and above us. If I could hear it, Caleb definitely did. He looked that way, eyes glinting gold in the dark. There was a prickle down my spine and tingling numbness that shot into my fingers. Danger. I grabbed Caleb's shoulder and threw up a shield the same instant I heard the whine and discharge of a sonic weapon. It hit the shield hard, causing me to flinch under the impact of the pressurized sound waves. Good job, girl, protecting your boy. But the shield held. A metallic clang came from above us, the sound of a weapon falling, then rapid footsteps. Caleb pushed me back against the wall.
Stay there.
He ran into the light, craning his neck as he sought out the fleeing target.
We're here.
There was no hope for the poor man at that point. I heard Vaughn's voice, Ari too. The man shouted, but it was cut short and followed by a heavy thud and more shouts. I couldn't see them up there, but it was clear what was happening.
I wouldn't struggle if I were you. You're not going anywhere. We have a few questions for you.
The whole thing was kind of anticlimactic. Not that I was complaining, but there wasn't another possible outcome with a normal guy and 3 elite espers. 4, if we count me. Though I still wasn't really feeling the elite thing. Oh, girl. I've never seen you in that hoodie jacket thing before. It looks great. Ari and Vaughn teleported down to where Caleb and I were at that point. Ari was holding onto the captured target and forced him to his knees in front of us.
Do not attempt to flee. You will fail. I told you it would be a coffee and cake run.
He holstered the weapon, eyeing the man, who didn't seem like he'd try to flee. If he made a break for it, well, he wouldn't get far, between Ari and Caleb. Poor guy. There's decidedly less coffee and cake than I expected.
Also, good job back there. That shield of yours saved my ass.
Sorry for activating my psi without permission.
Sometimes the situation calls for it. It was a smart decision. If you'd waited for the go-ahead, you might not have made it in time.
Thank you for being reasonable.
So, good call.
Thanks. Vaughn was already crouching down to question the man we'd apprehended as the rest of us talked amongst ourselves.
So now you're going to tell us where you're keeping the relics and who you're working for.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ugh, can we not play this game? You know what we're talking about. We know that you know. If you try to hide it from us, I'm afraid things will get a little ugly.
She cracked her knuckles. I was just impressed she could crack them, considering only 2 of them had real bones in them. I hope she's bluffing.
Who are you with? Crimson? Someone else? Noir?
Yeah, we're not telling you that. You're the one answering questions.
If he was assuming we were with Crimson or Noir, it meant we might be able to rule those groups out as the culprits. Unless it was a bluff. He doesn't seem smart enough to bluff.
I don't believe he will answer our questions here and under these circumstances. Fine, we'll take him back to HQ for questioning there. Should have answered us here. We're way nicer than the interrogation guys back there.
Ari pulled the man struggling to his feet. It didn't seem like it would be easy to get his cooperation.
Half the team should stay here. Check around, see if we can find some leads. We don't want someone to catch on that this guy was captured. And if there is a delivery happening soon, we need to get there and intercept it. Alright. Well, Ari definitely has to go back. Maybe you and I can... Hey!
The man slumped forward without warning, causing Ari to stagger under his sudden dead weight. He let out a strange gurgle as Ari lowered him to the ground.
No!
She hurriedly knelt, blocking my view of him, but not before I saw the long stream of bright red blood.
Shit! Are you serious? Vanessa, hold him down. He's going into convulsions.
But why? What could be so important that he'd rather die than be captured? Caleb put his forearm over my eyes, pulling me into a sort of half-hug as he turned me away.
Don't look. I'm afraid he's dead.
That fast?
This is unusual for this type of case. I don't believe anyone would go this far for a simple money scheme. Not unless they were compelled to. Which still points to something bigger than just a money scheme. Magnus did say as much. Ari, get him to the tower before they lose the chance to extract his memories. Hopefully it's not too late to get something out of him.
I think we've read about this before. Yeah, you can do telepathy on the newly dead to get some information. Learned that in Jack's route.
Understood.
He touched the man's shoulder, and they were gone. Extracting memories? From a dead person.
Hopefully. One of our top bishops has the ability, but only if it's very soon after death, so it depends if Ari can get him to her in time.
That's
a little weird?
To say the least. I wasn't aware something like that was possible.
Working with dead memories is safer since there aren't any defenses.
It's still odd to think memories are still there after a person dies.
What do you think happens to all the information stored in the brain? You think it vanishes just because a person's heart stops? A computer's memory doesn't vanish because you turned it off.
That's true, but we're not computers.
The human brain is one of the most powerful computers there is. But they need to work quick, because once the brain begins to deteriorate, the information is corrupted or vanishes. Still, poor guy. If he'd just worked with us, it probably wouldn't have ended up too bad for him. Now?
What happens next? That man was our only lead. I was extremely conscious of the fact that Caleb was still holding me close, with one arm around me, as Vaughn leaned down to scoop up the weapon the man had been holding earlier.
We keep looking around. We'll check out the surrounding area, try to figure out where he was going. Why don't you set up a sphere, expand it, see if you can find anything suspicious? I'll do the same.
She frowned, pursing her lips as she stared at the two of us, narrowing her eyes a bit.
Getting anything interesting?
A slow smirk spread on her face.
Well, interesting maybe. Helpful though, no.
He rolled his eyes at her, finally releasing me.
What about that weapon? Nothing, but psychometry isn't my forte. We could try to get Morgan to check it.
She handed it over to me, but nothing happened, at least for now. I shook my head and she took it back.
Well, there's nothing for it. We'll keep looking, and if the tower finds something, they'll contact us. We'll give it a couple of hours before we head back ourselves. There's also no point in wasting energy walking around without a lead. I'll be going. Probably best to move outside of Morgan's sphere while I look so we don't overlap.
She left quickly, ducking out of the building and back into the alley before disappearing from sight. Vaughn, don't you or Morgan set off one of those bomb things. I forget what they're called. Psy-bombs or whatever. Don't set up one of those, please. I don't know how much help I'll be.
All you need to do is try. No one is expecting miracles, Morgan. We know better than anyone how this stuff works. Sometimes this is just how it is.
I just feel like I should be able to help.
You already have. Those high expectations of yours are setting yourself up for disappointment. We're all just human.
Yeah, that can teleport across the planet in an instant and extract memories from the dead. He scoffed, moving over to the door to check outside, then shut it.
Listen, the big reason we didn't get Ari to search around from the start is because these people aren't idiots. They've got their own espers and they have psi dampeners to create artificial cages to keep us out. Those things will alert them the moment they come into contact with outside psi waves, so we couldn't risk looking around that way. But at this point it doesn't matter. We just want to find them, so we'll risk alerting them to our presence. But I still want you to be cautious. We don't even know what your full range is yet. Don't overtax yourself trying to see more than you're capable of. Expand your psi slowly, very slowly. The moment you see evidence that someone knows you're there, pull out. Got it.
I understand. I'll do my best.
I'll keep this area secured while you're occupied.
Alright, I'll get to it. Setting up a sphere was easy. It was just like opening up my awareness to my surroundings. Ari and I had worked on it a lot. Expanding the sphere was when it got tricky. Sometimes there was too much to see and hear and experience. It was overwhelming. Ari was still working with me on how to stay focused, so I was just going to have to do my best. I breathed, circulating my psi around me, gradually expanding the sphere outward, like shining an ever-increasing spotlight on my surroundings. Hello? Okay, I'm like, hi? Even though my eyes were shut, I could see Caleb, glowing bright in the rose gold I'd come to associate with him. I tried to ignore the little pale flames I knew were rodents lurking in the building. There were no other people nearby. None I could sense, anyway. I expanded outward, outside the building to the alley and nearby buildings. Further. Several conversations pricked my consciousness, nothing of note that I could see. I wasn't sure how precise my clairvoyance was. Perhaps I was missing things, though I didn't think so. I kept expanding outward. There was Vanessa. I felt her look my way, but kept going, searching further. Further still. Caleb said not to overdo it, but I hadn't hit a limit yet. There was something at the edge of my sphere, though. Something unusual.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no.
Abort! Pull back immediately! It's interesting that he's black. I looked that way and a shaft of ice went straight to my heart.
Stop looking at me.
I know that I'm a confident person, but Caleb, we just promised him we were not going to do anything reckless, and you don't mess with this guy. I'm pulling back. Who is that? Caleb told me to retreat the moment I sensed someone else, and that's what I tried to do. Darkness closed in after me. I'm trying to leave, man. Just leave me alone.
Stop looking at me.
The voice was coming from all around me. Everywhere. His eyes could see me. He could see me. He knew my name. He knew everything. His eyes. I couldn't escape. I couldn't breathe.
Morgan!
And I was back with Caleb, half curled over, wheezing. I straightened, pulling at his arm, tugging him towards the door. We have to go! We have to go now! We need to get out!
Morgan, what?
Now! They'll find us! He lifted me, and we were running. I just clung to him and shivered, and I still didn't even know what that was.
Vaughn, we're pulling out.
I got it.
What the hell was that?
I think it was a mind bomb. She pulled back fast, but it was still bad. Especially for a newbie.
That's what they're called, mind bombs. Thank you.
Damn it. Hold on, Morgan. We're getting out of here.
Why does this always happen to me? I hate it. I know. We're back with Dr. Sasuke. Poor you. He's had to spend so much time with us this route.
Most of your tests came back with no irregularities.
He frowned down at the display in his hands.
As expected, there are lingering symptoms within the amygdala and hypothalamus, typical of a mind bomb. It's difficult to tell how severe it would have been if you didn't pull back when you did.
Thank goodness we did.
You have elevated levels of phoric acid in your brain synapses, commonly associated with prolonged psi use. Given you were on assignment, I'm not surprised to see that. Cortisol levels are within the normal range, and synaptic function is otherwise normal.
Does that mean I'm free to go? He studied me without speaking for a moment.
Calm. No signs of avoidance or denial.
I already told you I'm fine.
A patient's assessment of whether they are fine is frequently at odds with a doctor's assessment of their actual well-being. You'll forgive me if I defer to my own, more knowledgeable opinion.
You just said there were no unexpected irregularities.
You were in a state of extreme emotional distress when you returned with Caleb. And you encountered a mind bomb. Given your lack of defenses, it is surprising you didn't return with permanent brain damage.
Yes, you mentioned that.
Mind bombs are powerful psychic traps, Morgan Leone. And you walked straight into that one. I don't know how you're conscious right now. In many situations, while recklessly expanding your sphere in an unknown area and encountering someone's trap, one would have taken more damage.
I wasn't being reckless.
It is reckless for you to be in the field at all right now.
I don't get a say if I go out or not.
Of course you get a say, Morgan Leone. Do you truly believe anyone here can make you do something you do not wish to do?
It would be nice if that were true.
It is true.
He set the tablet on the counter and sighed.
You're free to go. And Morgan, I have seen you far too much in my infirmary for your short tenure here at Endgame. I don't wish to see you here again soon.
I know, I literally just said we've seen so much of you. I'm sorry. I'll try.
Do better than try.
Right. Thank you. I slipped off the bed and out into the hall, grateful he wasn't keeping me for observation this time around. I was surprised to find Caleb waiting for me not far from the room, though I guess I shouldn't have been. Were you waiting?
What do you think?
I think you're cranky again.
Sorry. I'm not trying to be. How was it?
He fell into step beside me as we headed out of the medical ward. Tests were normal except for a few small irregularities. He's not keeping me for observation. And apparently, I should be very grateful I don't have brain damage.
He likes to throw that one around.
I noticed.
Are you okay? I mean, okay. I trust you're medically fine. But, you know.
I was pretty shaken earlier, but I'm okay now. It's already faded. Like a bad dream.
Vaughn and Ari wanted to be here when you were released. They had to brief Magnus on what happened. Vaughn said she only saw it from far away.
I just wish someone told me mind bombs are a thing.
Well, it's late for that. I'm sorry.
Well, you couldn't have known there was something like that waiting for anyone who poked around.
What exactly happened?
I'm not sure. It just felt like someone else was there. Have you ever heard of sleep paralysis?
Yeah. I don't know much about it, though.
It sometimes happens when someone isn't getting enough sleep. I've had a few episodes of it during exam season when all I'm doing is cramming for tests and barely sleeping. There were a few times when I would wake up and be unable to move. I couldn't see, but it felt like something was holding me down. And I knew there was something in the room with me. Something terrible. It was behind me, in the corners, in the shadows, watching. Are you calling Brennan your sleep paralysis demon? There was an all-encompassing sense of dread. A fear so profound that it swallowed me whole. And all I could do was lie there desperately trying to move. Until it passed and I realized none of it was real.
Sounds shitty.
It's not fun. Of course, it's just a hallucination, but that mind bomb felt the same way. Like there was someone there. Like his eyes were all around me, watching. Like he could see everything about me, like he was peeling back layers until there were no more secrets. It was horrifying. Caleb stopped me there and pulled me into a tight hug.
I'm sorry. You don't need to talk about it.
I squeezed him back gently, grateful for his warmth. It's okay. I told you, it faded, just like a dream fades after you wake, no matter how terrible. I mentioned that to you. He said that some mind bombs induce a state of consciousness similar to the transition between sleeping and waking. That forms the foundation for the hallucinations they induce. Hypnagogic hallucinations. Stronger ones inflict a lot of damage. This one apparently wasn't that bad, I guess? So it's not surprising that it faded as fast as it did once I was free of it. He thinks the fact you got me away from the area so fast helped.
Well, take comfort in the fact that scanning an active, awake mind is difficult even for the best bishops. There is virtually no way someone would scan you and gain any pertinent information. And Vaughn observed the mind bomb because it happened at the edge of her sphere. Don't worry. All your dirty secrets are safe.
What kind of dirty secrets do you think a student from New Albion even has?
I don't know. You seem awfully worried.
I'm worried I revealed Endgame secrets, not mine.
There would have been disruptions in synaptic activity or in your psi waves if someone tried to scan you. And you would have noticed that. So stop worrying.
Sure, I'll just do that on command.
Glad to see you're getting better at following orders.
I elbowed him in the side lightly.
Come on. You need to rest, but Magnus wanted you to stop by when you were released.
What can I do for you, sir?
It's good to see you're feeling well. We were all quite worried about you, Morgan.
Well, so you're aware, I'm under strict orders not to show up in the infirmary again soon.
We'll have to protect you extra carefully during the next assignment.
There's already another.
Not for a few days. We weren't able to pull as much information from the man you brought back as we would like. He had a very peculiar sort of brain damage to his memory centers. The autopsy report is still not in on that, so we're not sure what happened. It's possible it was deliberate.
Deliberate? Was he an Esper?
No. But as you experienced today, it's not that difficult to set up psi programs in advance. The mind bomb is one type. It's possible the man had a psi program that damaged his memory centers upon death.
That would be a surprising amount of caution from this group. Everything this group does is cautious. That bomb Morgan encountered probably took some time to set up. Whoever these people are, they do not want us to find them.
I wanted to hear more about your experience with that. Sometimes the particular hallucinations involved in a trap of that sort can be a clue.
It was kind of non-specific. Just another presence, and feeling like I was being examined. Like being devoured by... I stopped as a previously forgotten incident rose back to the forefront of memory. Devoured by someone's gaze. By eyes. I've heard that before.
Morgan?
What is it?
I don't know. Maybe nothing. I was just reminded of something. Back when I was first recruited, back at the vivarium we went to. When we got separated, I ran into that man again. The one from the incident in New Albion. He was lurking in the shadows there, like he'd been waiting for me.
We are certain that someone's bishops predicted our arrival. That has to be how they found us.
Anyway, he attacked me. That was the reason I fled back to the main area. He didn't make sense in any of our interactions, but that day was different. Something had clearly happened to him. He looked different, and he was saying odd things.
Curious that you never mentioned this before.
No one bothered to debrief me, Magnus. And I've been a little preoccupied. Until this very moment, I had no reason to think much about this incident. But I'm telling you now. So, maybe let me finish?
Well, it's good to see you're treating me like everyone else does these days.
Magnus, please stop. Take a break. I don't know, eat a Kit Kat or something. Several highly suspicious snorts came from where the others were sitting.
I'm being bullied again.
They were not good at hiding their laughter. At all. It's been a really long day.
In that case, we'll try to wrap this up fast. Please continue. What made you think of this man out of the blue?
Well, he said something about being devoured by eyes, which at the time sounded a bit...
deranged.
Yeah, but that was the exact sensation I had. It's hard to put into words, but a few minutes ago that's the exact phrase that came to mind. And then I remembered the incident in the vivarium.
The psychometric experience you had in Asteri, did they not also mention someone having eyes everywhere?
Yeah, that's right, they did.
An interesting coincidence.
Unless it isn't one.
That man who attacked Braceil with that relic also mentioned hearing eyes. That they were in his head. What the hell is going on?
Does the phrase Fisher King mean anything to you, Morgan?
Ah, so you are already aware of this, eh? No, why?
It's a phrase the Moirai picked up from the dead man's memories.
Okay, that's where you've heard it from. It doesn't ring any bells for me.
I see.
Come on, girl, dig deep.
Well, the more important thing they learned is that in 3 days there will be an auction selling off some of these relics to wealthy buyers in Delphine. The council has decided that we will infiltrate that auction. Or rather, the Queen's Guard will. I believe you understand why your presence will be required, Morgan.
I do.
We have reason to believe our replicating relic theory may be credible, and that said relic will be among the items being auctioned. It's likely to draw many of the more powerful members of the Delphine underworld.
Oh boy, are we reuniting with Case and Jack again?
And possibly some from our side of the planet as well. It would be nice if we could get to the relics before the auction, but that seems unlikely. As such, we need a team there to intercept them if possible, to destroy them if it's not. We know where the auction will take place, not where the relics are being housed right now. Searching might prove problematic if there are additional traps waiting for any Espers who dare poke around. And sometimes dealing with Delphine requires a more subtle touch. Unfortunately, we also still don't know who's behind this. We've tentatively ruled out Crimson and Noir, and if it's not one of those two, I don't think it's likely to be any of the other families either. That leaves few other known factions.
But we also can't rule out a new one.
I've done some investigating. It wasn't easy to find, but there have been some relic-related incidents in Delphine. The government has done a decent job of covering them up. Curiously, I believe Crimson has been trying to put a stop to the situation.
Well, we've always had a strange relationship with Crimson and their king.
And one could argue the situation isn't any better for them than us. It is, after all, unmitigated chaos. I'm sure they'd feel different if the relics were in their hands and not someone else's. As it is, that isn't the case. Which gives them incentive to find out who is disrupting things in their territory.
So it stands to reason they might be at the auction as well.
It does.
He's thinking about seeing Jack there, isn't he? That could prove problematic. But if we had a common goal, maybe we could copy Jack's route again and team up between the two of us, but from the other side. That would be cool. I suspected it wasn't that easy. The enemy of our enemy was probably just another enemy, not a friend.
In the meantime, I want you to rest, Morgan. It has been an eventful past few days, and it's not over yet.
This is not a time for her to be resting. If it is not over, then she should continue to train.
Perhaps we should let Morgan decide her own schedule going forward. I believe that is something important to her. It would be wise to focus on the skills she needs most for the upcoming mission.
She needs them all.
There isn't time for her to learn them all, so I suggest you convince her to pick wisely.
I mean, that's the first reasonable thing Magnus has said this route, probably. The meeting went on a little longer, discussing logistics of the auction mission. I was dragging by the time it was over. Caleb walked me back to my place and left me there, saying he had a few other things to look after. He promised to come check on me later. I spent a little while flopped on my sofa, groaning into a pillow before taking a long, hot shower. Very long, very hot. I let the water drum over my tense shoulders, relaxing the muscles, and just enjoyed not being in a dirty warehouse, or the medical ward, or being attacked by someone's psychic trap. I still had to file a briefing report, but I would put that off and just focus on relaxing. And answering a message I got from Mum earlier. I finally could answer her without it having to go through the admin, thanks to a little talk with Magnus. He bypassed their controls and restored full system access. Thanks. Caleb had suggested we talk to him instead of trying to deal with the red tape and admin. One of the best suggestions he'd made so far. I was still towel drying my hair when I walked into the living room. Caleb, please. I was also still wrapped in a towel. Only a towel. So when I found Caleb sitting on the sofa reading, I had to decide whether or not to feign outrage. I settled for rolling my eyes and joining him on the sofa.
Not going to complain this time.
No. At this point, I think I'm going to just ask Magnus to lock you out of your own room in revenge.
Don't you dare. Besides, that'll backfire on you real fast. You don't want to owe him a favor.
He owes me, like, 10 favors at this point.
I doubt he sees it that way.
So at this point, are you just breaking in to prove you can?
Yes.
You're lucky you're pretty. Agreed.
So, are you going to put some damn clothes on?
Nope.
I hope you're willing to deal with the consequences.
Are you going to do that thing where you tell me you're a man and can't control yourself?
Hell no. I was going to point out you're getting your sofa wet.
Well done.
I can control myself fine, thank you.
So what did you want? Other than to prove you can break in.
I wanted to make sure you were okay. You have an annoying habit of saying you are when you're not.
I'm alright this time. I really am.
Good.
He kissed me then, lips grazing mine at first, then more forcefully pulling me against him. There was always an alluring hunger to his kisses, so this one was exactly what I expected from him, where it almost felt like a precursor to a wrestling match. He was fortunate I was less interested in wrestling than I was in winding my arms around him and threading my fingers through his hair. A pleased murmur flowed from my mouth to his. He smiled against my lips and pulled me close enough I was almost in his lap. His hands snaked their way up my back, loosening the towel enough it was in danger of succumbing to gravity and falling. I freed one hand to hold it in place without releasing him. He must have realized because he pulled away with a breathless grin before he drew me into a tight embrace. I let my head rest against his shoulder.
I'm such an idiot.
I won't disagree.
There's a report I need to write.
You're the one who broke into my place, so why are you acting like I'm to blame for keeping you from work?
You're really going to act like you didn't want to see me.
Fun as it is to tease you, no, I'm not. I'm glad you came over.
I thought so.
He gave me a squeeze and stood up, taking a few steps towards the door. Want to grab dinner before succumbing to the seductive allure of report writing?
Sure. But please put some clothes on first. Not that I don't enjoy the view. But I'd prefer if no one else was tempted to succumb to the seductive allure of those legs.
Oh, damn.
I'd hate to have to break some faces tonight. Or watch you do it.
I picked up one of the sofa pillows and tossed it at him half-heartedly. He dodged it without much effort. He let himself out right after, leaving me to flop back on my sofa with a groan and a stupid smile on my face. You guys are too cute. Idiot. But if he was one, I was a bigger one for liking him. I went to finish drying my hair and getting dressed so we could meet up at the lounge. And despite everything, I had a feeling I'd be too exhausted to not sleep well tonight. A good night's sleep was definitely something to look forward to. Almost as much as dinner with Caleb. Maybe more. Though, I wouldn't tell him that.